Hey there, you awesome bipeds, quadrupeds, and even the occasional dinosaurs. It is I, Little Wolf, and welcome to my den. Go ahead and come on in, but please wipe your paws before entering, and go ahead and take a seat by the fire. The cauldron is bubbling for your choice of tea, coffee, or hot chocolate. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into today's movie. And it is the 1959 Attack of the Giant Leeches. And this is one I had seen quite a while ago, and I was able to find it again. And I know if you want to have a bit more fun with it, Mystery Science Theater 3000 also did their little take on the movie, and I'm gonna have to watch that again at some point. But let's see what the Oracle has to say about this movie. In a community near a swamp, a local dweller sees a couple of giant monsters, but nobody believes him. Later, the cuckold Dave Walker finds his floozy wife, Liz Walker, cheating on him with his friend Cal Malton. He chases the couple through the swamp and forces them to jump into the water. The leeches take them, and shocked Dave is arrested and accused of murder. Two other locals decide to look for the bodies of Liz and Cal to get the prize of $50 per body and also vanish in the swamp. Finally, Game Warden Steve Benton organizes a patrol to investigate the caves under the swamp, finding the lethal giant leeches. And this is definitely, I know I say this a lot with most of the ones that I do, but this is definitely a fun one to sit down and watch, even if it's just by yourself, and to see the different kind of stuff that they have in here. And they don't explicitly say it, but I do believe that this is taking place somewhere down in Florida, because at one point one of the characters mentions that there is the Kennedy Space Center, and somehow the radiation leaking off of the launches is what causes the leeches to become giant. And with this being giant animals or whatever, it is another one where Roger Corman and Gene Corman both have their paws dipped very heavily into this. And Roger Corman is a producer of this film. And let's see what else we can dig up here really quick. And the cast is actually pretty darn small. There's only like 13 of them here listed. We have Ken Cluck as Steve Benton, Yvette Vickers as Liz Walker, Jan Shepard as Nan Grayson, Michael Emmett as Cal Malton. Words are hard, especially with names. Okay. Then we have Tyler McVeigh as Doc Grayson, Bruno Belsada as Dave Walker, Gene Roth as Sheriff Covis. Okay, interesting last name. And his picture here is actually pretty entertaining. Maybe I'll see if I can figure out a way to copy this picture that they have here. Looks like somebody goosed him. And we have Dan White as Porky Reed, George Cesar as Lem Swanson. And here's some uncredited ones, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get too many pictures of them. But we have Guy Bacola as a giant leech. Interesting. Joseph Hamilton as Old Sam Peters. Walter Kelly as Mike, uncredited. Uncredited, that's sad. and Ross Sterling as another giant leech. So there's two giant leeches in this movie, and as it says in the plot synopsis of this, you have Lem going out into the swamp, and he sees a creature that he can't identify. And I do believe at some point he says that he's been hunting and trapping in the area for about like 40 years, and he's never seen any creatures like this. And he's uh, telling his story while he's over at Dave Walker's place, and he's kind of having a drink with his buddies there around, and they're kind of making fun of him. And he decides he's gonna go off and check, I think they're his otter traps. So I'm guessing he's kind of a poacher too, so I'm not too sure about like the 59 animal game warden type material, but I mean, if you have to do that to make your money, I do not condone it, but hey, I'm not gonna kink shame either. But he goes out to go check his traps, and he winds up falling into the lake where the leeches are, and they take him down. And later, as that's going on, you have Liz Walker and her husband Dave Walker having a little argument in their room, and Liz is kind of one of those girls where she's gonna do what she wants and to heck with what her husband has to say, and she winds up meeting up with Cal Moulton to have a little tryst, and they're down by the water and they're kissing and they're smooching and they're having fun like that. And Dave Walker walks in upon them, and he's holding his shotgun, and he's telling his wife that she needs to be quiet and Cal needs to be quiet, and they just need to get running. And he fires a shot into the air, and he makes him run through the swamp, and he's chasing them down, all the while shooting off rounds into the air. And I'm guessing they're pretty far outside of like either town limits or city limits or anything like that, because like the authorities don't even show up until later on, because as it says in the description, he forces them to get into the water, and as he's trying to let his friend Cal know, hey, stay away from my wife, don't mess around with her anymore, he spots the leeches kind of moving in on them, and he sees them both get taken away by the leeches, and he runs away. And later comes back with the authorities, and they're searching the area and the lake, and they just can't find nothing. And part of it kind of makes me think of the Spaceballs little part where they're combing the desert, and then you have the two actors towards the end of that saying, "We ain't found." I'm not going to repeat the whole line here, but you know what I'm saying. And the game warden, Steve, he decides, I'm going to go out and I'm going to search the area. And he's kind of, I think, dating Nan, or at least it shows them kissing at some point, so I'm guessing they're dating. And so they're both out in a boat, and they're poking around the reeds of the area, and they just can't find anything either. And the father of Nan, who's an animal doctor, I'm guessing, he suggests, maybe they can't find anything because at the time that they go out to go looking, it's daytime, and that the creatures that they might be looking for are going to be nocturnal creatures. So later on, they're going through and they figure out, maybe they might have missed something, so Steve decides to get a group of guys together and some dogs and try and have the dogs smell out where the people have gone to, and the dogs lead them right to the lake area. And there are caves that are supposed to be hidden underneath, and Steve decides, hey, if there's caves above, there's probably caves below, and there might be an area under there where there's a pocket of air, and these other missing people are there. Because the doctor, Doc Grayson, he uses dynamite later on and brings a few of the bodies up to the surface. And as an autopsy is done on those bodies, he discovers, these bodies, one person was missing for about 2 days, another person was missing for, let's say, maybe a day-ish. But their bodies were drained of blood somehow, and one body had only been dead for a few hours because as they were doing the autopsy, that's when rigor mortis started to set in. And so he decides, these bodies had not died until pretty recently, even though they were supposedly drowned inside of the lake and not found. And so that's how he thinks that there's a cave in there somewhere, and Steve goes back with a friend of his, and they have some diving equipment and a harpoon gun, and he actually does find that Liz has been taken into a cave because she falls out of the cave and floats up to the surface somehow, and Steve hurts a couple of the leeches, and then to top it all off, he sets off a bunch of dynamite inside the lake, and the leeches kind of float up towards the top. And you kind of gotta feel bad for the two guys that were inside of these leech costumes, because they look like they'd be heavy. And then on top of that, they're, having to swim through the water with this on. And I'll see if I can get a good picture of what they look like. And also, there's a weird sound that they make. And I do keep saying this a lot, but this is one where it's like you can hear all of the things that I've just told you about this movie, and it's still more fun to really see it unfold before your eyes. And if you even want to have more extra fun, like I said, Mystery Science Theater 3000 did do their own little thing on it, and I'll definitely see if I can find where it's listed and also try and put up a link to that too. But this is definitely a fun one to sit down, check your brain at the door, and just go out into the lake and have some fun. And with leeches, we definitely know they're blood-sucking and they're kind of freaky, so it's just a fun, good little movie, and I highly recommend that you do seek this one out and try and watch it if you can. And that's my take on Attack of the Giant Leeches. I hope you guys did enjoy this, because I enjoy looking these movies up and doing quick reviews on them for you. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a good day, a good night, or a good whatever. I love all of you, and we live on one planet, so let's try and at least be civil. So goodbye, you awesome bipeds, quadrupeds, and even the occasional dinosaurs. Wolf, out.